Hello, pursuers. Welcome to another episode of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast. I am your podcast host, Nas Kazimi. We have a special podcast episode today. I'm not going to be recapping Housewives or anything personal. I'm actually going to be recapping some movies that I've watched lately that I feel deserve some flowers. I've talked about it many times before. I don't really like to go out much. I love my shows with my ADHD brain. My shows just kind of give me that solace and peace of mind. And I'm able to just kind of immerse myself in the movie. And I think that my taste has changed over time as well. Like, it's gotten a lot better. Lucky for a little difference that I'm doing with this episode, but lucky for people that perhaps are joining on my TikTok because I'm doing it live. So people on my TikTok will be able to watch it. But I have turned comments off because if I start reading the comments, I'm going to totally get distracted. So just kind of so I can show the TikTok world sort of what I do in the days and whatnot. So let's start with the movies that I've watched recently. Now, as everyone knows, I've traveled quite a bit. And I traveled back home to Canada for a little bit, visiting some family. We had a wedding to go to, and just to be around family right now, just lots of things going on in Iran. So decided to be around family. It was kind of hard to get here. I was not the best planner, to be honest. So I have to thank my family for getting me and my daughter out here, but we are here. And obviously a couple days before everything was going on, I started to get really stressed out. So I started to really cling to my movies a lot more. And there's a couple movies that I watched and they just really resonated with me. You guys, they're amazing. Okay, I want to start off with first. These are Netflix movies. So I just want to throw it out there. Huge disclaimer. I'm going to try not to ruin the ending for you guys. But in the event that you haven't watched these movies, maybe I would recommend that you don't... watch or just listen to this podcast episode because I might accidentally say something that might ruin it for you. So, I forgot what they say when you do stuff like that, but I'm just letting you know now that might happen. So, FYI. But let's get started. Okay. Let's get started with Train Dreams. Now, this is on Netflix. I watched this because it said it's an Oscar nominee. I forgot what it said for, but just now when I went to go back and search it in Netflix, it said it's part of the Oscar spotlight. Okay, it's an Oscar nominee. Train Dreams. You guys, it is such a good movie, and I find that with Oscar nominated movies, some of them have this really intense climax. And then it's like any other action movie, it gets to the top and then it just falls. But then sometimes some of them don't. Sometimes they're just really consistently even keeled the entire movie through. And I found Train Dreams to be one of those. There was no intense climax. There was no things happen throughout the movie. For example, it's based on the life of a guy that was in forestry, and he was like a lumberman, I guess you could call him. He would go and he would cut down trees every year, and it's just so interesting to watch because I think that what we always expect something to be so climatic, but it's not always like that. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes life is just life, and this is such a nice way of just showing people that life just lifes, and it's just kind of even keeled, and it just he started off as a young kid, and then I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, because a lot has happened since then, he then goes off to school, and then drops out of school because he wants to work, and then stayed single pretty much his entire life, but then like stumbles upon this lady at church, and then he gets with the lady at church, and then um uh they build their life together. They build this really nice house. Like it's just really nice, and it's just it just hits your heart in such a nice way. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Although I was a little bit disappointed that it didn't have like the climax thing, and then I was like, this is a lot of Oscar winning movies. Like I've seen so many other movies that, in my mind, like maybe, I mean, this is a great movie, but maybe would deserve to be Oscar nominated. But based on what I would think, like it's got this crazy, I think this crazy storyline, and it's got this interesting climax, and like it's like lots of lights, and things happen, and it's just, this wasn't that. This was just, again, you have moments of this, but you don't have huge moments like that, and it was so nice to watch. It does get sad, and this is another thing I noticed with Oscar nominated movies. The ends are always so incredibly sad. Like it's not Walt Disney. You don't have the happy ending. So um I would definitely recommend it. Again, it's Train Dreams on Netflix. You guys go watch it. It's so good. Um it's just very wholesome movie. You guys, I'm telling you, you would love it. Okay. Next movie I want to talk about is also on Netflix. It's called Dark Waters, I'm pretty sure. I am going to just punch it in just to make sure it's correct. Um oh, but I do want to say one thing about this movie. After I watched this, Dark Waters, that's the one, Dark Waters. So many Oscar nominated actors are in this one. Mike Ruffalo's in it. I forgot the other two actors, but they're so well known. Um, Geez, I just should have done a little bit more research and figured it out. You guys, it is such a good movie. Um, it's playing in my headset right now. Mike Ruffalo, Anne Hathaway's in it, Tim Robbins, um, Bill Pullman, Bill Camp, Victor Garber, Mayor Winningham. Just the two alone, like Mark Ruffalo, Anne Hathaway, Tim Robbins. That's such a huge giveaway for who is in the movie. You guys, it is such a good movie. So it's giving Erin Brockovich, this movie. So think Erin Brockovich. She worked for a lawyer. She was just skimming through files, realized that all these people were getting sick from the waters, right? Okay, so spoiler alert. There, that's what it says. It says spoiler alert. Okay, got it. Spoiler alert. I am going to talk a little bit about the movie. So if you haven't seen it, stop listening now. I'm not going to really explain what happens at the end, but I'm going to explain what happens throughout the movie. I might accidentally give something away, so spoiler alert right now, okay? There's a guy who owns a farm, and his cows have been dying for years. He's also giving Skinwalker Ranch, so I don't know if anyone watches Skinwalker Ranch, which actually made me realize, like, and Skinwalker Ranch is just a TV series about the ranch that's in Utah, where they get all these UFO sightings, and the cattle kind of like they get sick or they die suddenly. So this kind of reminded me of that Skinwalker Ranch. But then I was thinking, I'm like, maybe Skinwalker Ranch has been poisoned by water. Like maybe that's what's been going on there. But okay, let me tell you. So the guy, he has herds of cattle, but the cattle suddenly die. And so they've been dying throughout the years. And the only common denominator that this guy can think of is the water. Because he remembers a few years back, this company that created Teflon, came and said, okay, look, we're like releasing stuff and it should be okay. Like, but this one particle that was released in was not okay. And, this guy, because it was the creek that went through this guy's ranch, his farm, his animals and his crops and his family kind of got the most of it. Where it differs from Erin Brockovich is like Erin Brockovich was an entire like city was affected. Like this was like out in the middle of nowhere that they dumped all these chemicals in these barrels. So this is kind of a little bit of the difference with Aaron Brockovich. But anyway, the guy, the gentleman that it was his ranch, he goes to um, this lawyer's office, and this lawyer actually represents the people that he's going up against, like that he wants to have a lawsuit against. He finds a lawyer, Mark Ruffalo, and he says, "You need to represent me." And Mark Ruffalo's like, "I can't. Like, I work for them. How can I go against them?" He's like, "I know your grandma. You used to come to my ranch when you were younger. You used to play. You loved it. And now, if you saw the conditions of it, you would understand why I need your help." So he keeps kind of like um, insisting that Mark Ruffalo help him out, right? So this kind of sets off Mark Ruffalo, like his curiosity, who is this guy? So he goes and he visits his grandma, and his grandma shows him all these pictures of the ranch that they would go visit when he was younger. So now he remembers. He's like, "Oh yeah, I do know this guy, and yeah, I did like love hanging out at this ranch." So he decides that now he wants to take on the case. He's like, "Well, they shouldn't have anything to hide." So, and he just became partners with this firm, and there's like the kind of like the lead lawyer, the head lawyer is like, "Are you crazy? Like now you want to go against one of our like biggest clients? Like that's nuts." He's like, "Well, I don't think I'd be going against them if they really have nothing to hide." Good point, right? Doesn't turn out that way because there was tons to hide, and it just so happens that they did dump stuff in the water, and they have been dumping stuff in the water, and there's just one ingredient, I forgot its name, it's a chemical that no one had done research on, and no one even knew that it could be potentially this bad. um I think that the company that was dumping it knew it was that bad, but they didn't realize how bad because no one had actually done research on it. Like there was no formal paperwork of research done on this product. So it's just so good. It's so great. And it kind of encouraged and inspired me to do my own article. So on my webpage, www.thepursuitofhappinessnows.com, I did do an article on it. I did an article on the water throughout history and how it's affected us. And Vancouver has one of Vancouver, Canada, where I'm originally from, has one of the top drinking waters in the world. But what scares me about that is that Vancouver also has one of the leading breast cancer rates amongst women in the world. And Vancouver also has one of the leading PCOS numbers of women, I would say, across the world. It's not the number one place for PCOS in women, but it is one of the highest. And so I couldn't help but just kind of think, like, could it be the water? Like, I'm not saying the water's overly chemicaled or there's stuff being dumped in it. I'm like, could it just be that it's just so perfect to drink that it also comes with all these kind of contributing factors? I did more research on it, and I asked ChatGPT to help me with that one because you can do a scholar ChatGPT where it goes to all these books, and the leading cause is actually not like it's like such a low number that it could actually contribute to it, but it's just food for thought. Like you just never know, could it or could it not? Like it's just something that you think about. Like all these things that we're putting in, it just makes you think. All these things that we're putting in our body can it lead to all these extra diseases because so many more people are sick. So many more people are dying of this. So many people have developed this. So many more people are autistic or this and that. I'm not saying anything is related, but is it just okay to question it? So that's what it had inspired me to write that article. Again, the movie is called Dark Waters. It's on Netflix, and it is amazing. I recommend you guys to go watch it. It's definitely one of those like slow burn movies. But there is a climax. It gets interesting. It gets political. It gets like nerve wracking. It gets like you want to punch people. It gets you want to look at people and be like, how could they just not even care? But it's definitely something that's eye opening, and I loved it. It's the new age Aaron Brockovich, and it has to do with the company that the company that created Teflon. So if you have any Teflon products, I would personally suggest that you stop using them because it does contribute to these rates of just these illnesses that have been going around. Now, not Teflon itself, but the company that created Teflon. Now, Teflon itself has had its own issues. If you guys use Teflon products or not, all I'm asking and all this movie has done is really got me to deep dive into the products that I'm using more than I ever have been. Am I perfect at it? Absolutely not. And will I ever be perfect at it? No. But it's just to be aware that what I'm buying could potentially have an impact on me later in life. Any drugs, towels, detergent, anything, you guys. Anything could potentially put more of a damper on you and really affect your immune system, your gut health, anything. Just be aware of that, okay? So that's Dark Waters on Netflix. 2 more Netflix movies, I swear. They're so good. Okay. This is Den of Thieves. I don't know if you guys have ever watched it. There's a part 1 and then there's part 2. So I recently rewatched part 1, but part 2, oh my God. Part 2 is the one that I watched on the plane. And so part 1 has Gerard Butler, O'Shea Jackson, I believe that's Ice Cube's son. Okay. It also has 50 Cent in it. There's so many good actors in it. Like, it's just such a good movie. I'm gonna go actually check right now. For the list. Yeah, O'Shea Jackson Jr., because Ice Cube's O'Shea Jackson, Gerard Butler, Pablo Schreiber, let's see more, 50 Cent, Meta Williams, Maurice Comte, Brian Von Holt, Evan Jones, Mo McRae, Kaiwi, Lyman. Like, it's such a good cast. That's part 1. It's about old ex-cops-ish, military guys. They all are involved in a heist, okay? And it's, initially I thought they were jacking up armored trucks, but armored trucks are kind of obvious, and so many things make sense in this movie. Like, for example, in the beginning, you're going to notice, again, spoiler alert, in the beginning you're going to notice, if you watch it, that they heist a truck close to the airport in Los Angeles. Because Los Angeles, okay, this is why I thought it was about armored trucks. Let me rephrase everything. So, because in the beginning of Den of Thieves, they say that every, hour, one of these armored trucks are stolen. Like, people die. And these are bulletproof trucks that carry millions of dollars. They're jacked. They're robbed. There's deaths like every hour in especially in the city LA. It's the number 1 capital for armored truck thefts and robberies. So initially I'm like, okay, I get it. So that's what it's about. But a little detail that I loved is they're stealing one so close to the airport, and that one the one that they steal, they had no money in it. But as you watch the show, you realize why they needed that truck. But for example, the reason that they stole one so close to the airport is because the airspace is restricted. So helicopters would not be able to come and find them and glare that big spotlight on them and then follow them to wherever they took the truck. Another thing that happens in the beginning of Den of Thieves, part 1, the original, is they end up in a shootout with cops. Literally, the first 5 minutes is so intense. It's probably the first 5 minutes is the most intense that it's ever going to get until you get to the last 5 minutes. Okay, but it's so intense, and they end up having to kill cops, which I find kind of sad because I'm like, they're the ones that are doing something bad and they're trying to get away with it. So then they go and they kill cops. That's not fair. Like, the cops are just showing up, man, like trying to do their job and make sure there's peace. Like, and they walk into this kind of like frenzy, and then like so many of them die. But I notice from a lot of movies that I watch and just a lot of these like crime shows that I've seen that typically people that are robberies, thieves. I want to say burglars, but I'm not too sure if I have the right verbiage there. They don't want to hurt people. They just want items, you know? But unfortunately, sometimes someone gets in their way and they end up shooting them, killing them, and it's even worse if it's a cop, and then that changes the trajectory of their crime that they just committed. Not that it wasn't bad enough, but it just became a lot worse, you know? So, part 1 was so good. Part 2, like I didn't remember part 1 being a slow burn, but part 2 is a much slower burn. And then in part 2, O'Shea Jackson Jr., so Ice Cube's son, is back in it with Gerard Butler. Again, spoiler alert, it seems like they work together, but it's just so good. Like, you guys have to watch it. Watch part 1, and part 2 is called Pantera because they're in Europe. It's just so good. And so I watched part 2 when I was on the plane heading to Vancouver, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember why I love this movie so much. So that's Den of Thieves. So we've covered Train Dreams, Dark Waters, Den of Thieves 1 and 2. So Den of Thieves is not actually 1 or 2. It's just Den of Thieves original and then Den of Thieves Pantera. Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. Last movie that I'm going to recap is called Deliver Us from Evil. This is one of my like favorite movies. Deliver Us from Evil. I believe it has John Panna in it. I'm going to just type it into my computer really quick so I can get the names. It's Eric Bana, Edgar Ramirez, Olivia Munn. I knew it was Olivia Munn. Chris Coy, Joel McHale. Do you guys remember Joel McHale? He used to have that kind of funny segment on, I think it was E! Network. He's so funny. He adds like the comic relief, but he still plays a serious role. It's so good. Joel McHale, Sean Harris, Mike Houston, Lulu Wilson. It's such a good show. It is based on a little bit of faith, but it's not faith heavy. It's just got a component of Catholic in it, Catholicism. And pretty much it starts off, again, spoiler alert, but about these guys that go and serve in, I believe it was the Gulf War or they're in the Middle East for some reason, and for some reason they're in Iran. Go figure, in Iran. And they go and they read these writings on the wall, and something about the writing kind of creates this demonic energy within them. So there's 3 friends, or there's 3 like comrades, I guess you could say, from the whatever they were just serving in Iraq or wherever they end up. And then when they come back home, their lives are all destroyed. Like, they're all like possessed. And Eric Bana and Joel McHale are partners. And Eric Bana is the type of cop that kind of gets... Remember, like, when we watched Twister, remember how, like, Jodie Foster played the role of someone that, like, went and hunted tornadoes, if you guys ever watched that, and she had a really good hunch about, like, where the tornado would turn out. Like, even in Twisters, the sequel to that movie, like, they just are really good at figuring, like, there's always that one person that kind of just knows, you know? So Eric Bana plays the cop that just kind of knows, like, he gets a weird hunch or a good hunch, like his intuition is so good. He's like, there's something about this that I need to go, like, figure out, you know? So he goes and he ends up being on all of these, like, all these calls that these guys, families or people have called, and somehow he ends up at these calls that are all somehow connected to those 3 guys. And then Edgar Ramirez plays a priest. And so Eric Bana initially is like confused about why the priest is there. He's like, why are you coming and trying to help all these people that were somehow also involved in the cases that had to do with the three guys? And he says that he's there for a different purpose. And he's like, people do things like for two reasons, like, because they have to, or like they're actually like messed up, like fucked up, or like it's like they're possessed. And Eric Bana's kind of like, so you deal with them on a possessed level, like you're not their psychiatrist or anything. He's like, yeah, I'm like a priest, and I've been called by these people's families to come and help them out. And like, Eric Bana again grew up in faith, but is just one of those people that later decides that he doesn't really want to follow with faith anymore because of things in the movie that will say about what happened to him just throughout his life. But it's such a good movie. It says that it's horror. I don't really think it's like horror. I just think that it's just my all-time favorite movie, which I'll recap another day, is Stand By Me. But this, like, for new age, and I love horror, and I love like, I don't like it too like gory. I don't want blood splatter and stuff. I like kind of like psychological horror. Like I like ghosts and spirits. And I don't really like possession type horror. I don't really like it's always a Catholic church. I'm not really as into it. But this kind of was a mix. Mix that also with Joel McHale being there and him just like with the funny jokes. Like it's just so good. So that's Deliver Us from Evil. So I'm gonna say the titles again of the movies that I just said. Okay. They're all from Netflix. You guys can go watch them. You guys will be busy for the next, I don't know, few nights. It's Train Dreams. That's from Netflix. It's Dark Waters. That's also from Netflix. It's Den of Thieves. And there's two movies of that. There's Den of Thieves, the original one. And there's Den of Thieves Part 2. Pantera. And then the fifth movie that I recommend to watch is called Deliver Us from Evil. And that's one of my favorite movies. All-time favorite. These are all great. So good watches. They're on Netflix. I highly recommend. It's a little bit different from my Housewives, but it's just something for you guys to watch. Let me know how you like them. Please feel free to comment under the podcast episode. Find me on my socials. All my social information is in my podcast notes. Please subscribe, like, and share, you guys, my podcast. I would appreciate that. Rate and review my podcast. I would appreciate that as well. And I will see you pursuers next time. Thank you, pursuers.